I didn't think much of it at first. A sticky note on my front door felt like the kind of weird that comes with apartment buildings, misdelivered reminders, neighbor jokes, building management being helpful. It was placed perfectly in the center, like someone measured it. The handwriting was neat, careful, almost too calm. It said, "Welcome home. Lock the bottom bolt too." I remember staring at it with my key still in my hand, hearing the hallway hum, the distant elevator, someone's muffled TV through a wall. I almost laughed. The bottom bolt was always stiff, always annoying. I hardly used it. But my fingers moved anyway. I locked it. Then I locked the top one. The click sounded louder than usual, like the hallway had leaned in to listen. I peeled the note off and it came free cleanly, no tape, no residue, like it had simply been pressed there by certainty. Inside, nothing looked disturbed. Nothing smelled wrong. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the note hadn't been left for whoever lives here. It had been left for me. Like it knew exactly when I'd arrive. The next note was on my bathroom mirror the very next morning, right at eye level, where my face should have been. "Don't turn on the fan today." That was it. No smiley face. No reason. Just a command that didn't sound angry, more like an adult warning you not to touch something you don't understand. I stood there brushing my teeth, staring at the fan switch, feeling ridiculous for even considering obeying it. But then I noticed the vent cover above the mirror. One corner sagged, just slightly, like a loose tooth. I couldn't remember if it had always been that way. I showered with the fan off, the steam thick and uncomfortable, and when I reached up after, the vent cover shifted with the tiniest metallic click, like something moved behind it. Not a scramble. Not a thud. Just, a small, deliberate adjustment. And then the note was gone later, as if it had never been there. That's when the fear started to grow teeth, not because a ghost had threatened me, but because something was keeping me from doing normal things for reasons it didn't explain. After that, the notes started appearing like punctuation marks in my day. One on my keys, left pocket. One on the grocery list, don't buy the bruised apples. One on my phone case, text your MOM back. Each note showed up exactly when it mattered. Not randomly. Not in piles like someone was messing with me. These were timed. They were positioned the way a person sets a glass down gently on a table, confident it belongs there. The strangest part was how quickly I adjusted. I started scanning my apartment automatically, like my eyes were trained to search for yellow squares. I'd come home, lock both bolts without thinking, and wait for the next instruction like it was part of the lease. Sometimes things shifted too, my shoes lined up by the door when I didn't remember doing it, a mug placed in the front of the cabinet, a pencil sharpened that I hadn't sharpened. Tiny things that made my apartment feel slightly supervised. Like I wasn't alone inside my routine anymore. Then the notes stopped being helpful advice and started sounding like rules for survival. Don't open the closet after dark. Leave one light on in the hall. If you hear 3 taps, count to 10. That last one stuck in my brain like a splinter. I tried to ignore them because rules imply danger, and I didn't want danger to be real. But my mind kept circling back to the closet note. One night, I stood in my bedroom with the overhead light on, staring at the closet door, angry at myself for being scared of something so normal. I opened it just to prove I could. Cold air pushed out, dry and sharp, not like a closet, not like a draft. My clothes hung perfectly still. No monster. No shadow. Just an empty space that felt wrong. Then behind me, 3 taps. Tap. 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 The sound was polite, almost patient, and that made it worse. My heart slammed into my ribs. I wanted to spin around, to catch something, to end the mystery. Instead I forced myself to count. 1. 2. 3. The room felt thicker with every number. 10. I turned. Nothing. And when I looked back, the closet door was shut, quietly, like a hand had closed it for me. I tried everything to prove it was human. Tape traps on the door. Flower near the window. A strand of hair on the vent cover. I set up my phone to record overnight, aimed at the counter where notes often appeared. The next morning the file was gone. Not corrupted. Not blurry. Gone. Like it never existed. On the counter sat a sticky note, "No cameras. It makes them curious." That sentence made my stomach drop because it wasn't talking about me. It was talking about someone else, something else. Them. Plural. And suddenly my apartment felt like a place with invisible neighbors. The note wasn't just refusing to be caught. It was warning me that trying to catch it would attract something worse. The day I stopped calling it a prank was the day the stove turned off by itself. I'd turned the burner on to boil water, stepped into my room for less than a minute, and came back to find the knob turned to 0. A sticky note sat beside it, "Not today." I stared at the stove like it had betrayed me, then felt the delayed wave of fear. What if I'd gotten distracted? What if I'd walked away longer? The note didn't say, "Be careful." It didn't scold. It simply prevented. Later that week, I went to take out the trash, and a note appeared in my palm like it had been placed while my hand was closed. "Wait." I waited without knowing why. A few seconds later, a loud crash echoed from the stairwell, a ladder falling, a ceiling panel shifting. If I'd stepped out exactly when I planned, I might have been underneath it. My legs went weak when I realized the notes weren't just creepy. They were keeping me alive. I left a note on the counter with a pen beside it. "Who are you?" It felt silly, like writing to the darkness. When I returned later, my note remained, but beneath my question, in that calm, neat handwriting, was the reply, "I live here too." My chest tightened. I wrote again, "Why sticky notes?" The answer came back, "Loud sounds attract them. Paper is quiet." I stared at that until the room felt smaller. I wrote a final question, my hand shaking, "Are you a ghost?" The reply appeared later, so faint the ink looked gray. I was. That wording haunted me more than any threat. I was. Like it wasn't quite a ghost in the way stories tell it. Like it was something left behind that didn't fit into normal categories. After that, I couldn't stop thinking of it as a roommate. Not a friendly one, not a human one, but a presence that shared the space and understood rules I didn't. The notes became more about maintaining quiet than about me personally. Don't slam drawers. No music after midnight. Don't hum in the hallway. At first it felt unfair. Then it felt like instructions in a dangerous place. I started moving carefully without realizing it, lowering my voice even when alone, setting objects down gently as if sound itself was breakable. And the apartment responded, less banging pipes, fewer harsh clicks, fewer moments where shadows felt too heavy. I asked what happened when it got loud. The answer, they come close. They copy. They try doors. I felt sick reading it. Copy what? Copy who? The note didn't explain. It didn't have to. My imagination filled the gaps with things I didn't want to picture. It happened after I laughed in the hallway. I came home talking on the phone, bright and careless, and I snorted too loud at a joke. A note covered my peephole, "Hang up. Now." I did. Inside, I tried to breathe like a normal person. Then the knocking started, not on the door, but on the wall beside it. Soft at first, then insistent. A note appeared, "Don't answer. Don't look for it. Count." I counted to 10, my voice silent, the numbers inside my head like steps on a stair. The knocking stopped at 10. In the morning a note said, "You brought sound home." They followed it. Under it, "Not your fault. Just learn." That second note almost made me cry, because it wasn't blaming me. It was teaching me, like survival here was a skill, not a punishment. A few days later, my own voice spoke from the hallway. "Hey, open up. I forgot my keys." It sounded exactly like me, down to the nervous laugh. My blood turned cold. A note was already waiting. "That's not you." The voice tried again, softer, "Come on. It's cold out here." It used my exact phrasing, my exact tone of fake casual. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I locked both bolts even though I was inside. Eventually the voice stopped. Later, a note said, "They copy what gets results. You gave them none." I sat on the kitchen floor shaking, realizing my own voice could be used like a key against me from then on. The notes formed a blueprint. Don't sit with your back to this corner. Close curtains before sunset. Don't say your name in the hall. The apartment turned into zones, safe areas and wrong areas, like invisible lines drawn across the floor. I rearranged furniture, avoided certain corners, kept lights in specific places, not because I liked it but because the apartment felt less tense when I obeyed. I asked what they wanted. The answer was simple: entry. Then, "They can't take it. They can only be invited." That sentence should have comforted me, but it made my stomach twist. Because people invite things without realizing all the time. Curiosity is an invitation. Answering is an invitation. Opening a door is an invitation. The notes weren't just about being quiet, they were about refusing to invite. One night the closet door was cracked open, just an inch. A note on my nightstand: "Close it without looking." I approached with my eyes on the floor. My fingers found the door edge. It was cold. I pushed, and it resisted, softly, like thick air. Then from the gap came a slow exhale, dry, deliberate, too close. Every part of me wanted to look. I didn't. I pushed until the latch clicked shut. The room felt warmer instantly, like I'd sealed something back into its proper place. Later a note appeared: "Good. You felt it." I tied the closet knob shut with a scarf that night, knotting it hard. A note said, "Smart." I didn't feel smart. I felt like someone building a barricade against something that didn't need to break the door down, it only needed me to open it. One afternoon I came home to find the kitchen table covered in sticky notes arranged like a collage. Not instructions, memories. I moved in when the building was new. I played music loud. I didn't know the rules. They came when I sang. They used my brother's voice. I opened the door. The sentences were plain, but together they cut deep. At the center, someone left me a note once. Under it, it said, "Don't answer." And then, I didn't listen. I sat there stunned, understanding the shape of the story. Someone once tried to warn this presence the way it warns me now. It ignored the warning and paid the price. Now it stayed, not to scare people, but to pass that warning forward like a debt it wanted to repay. I whispered, "Thank you," into the empty room. Later, a note replied, "You're welcome." And somehow that made my eyes sting more than any copied voice ever did. A note on my doorframe said, "Don't go to 3B. I'd always assumed 3B was empty. The door looked older than the others, darker, like it absorbed light. That night, from behind 3B's door, I heard my friend's voice call out, perfectly, "Hey, open up." My stomach turned. My phone buzzed with a text from that same friend, normal, casual, proving she wasn't there. I backed away slowly, refusing to run. Inside my apartment, a note waited: "They practice on empty doors." I imagined the hallway as a stage and 3B as a rehearsal room, where voices were practiced like costumes. It wasn't empty. It was occupied by preparation. I dropped a glass in the kitchen. It shattered with a sharp crash that rang through the apartment like a bell. A note appeared immediately: "Quiet. Now." I cleaned silently, heart pounding. Then a faint clicking came from the vent: tap tap tap. I counted to 10. The clicking paused and returned and stopped. When I looked at my door, the light under it was gone, blocked by darkness from the hallway side. A note slid under the door, "Don't open. I'm here." My own voice whispered through the wood, "It's okay. Open up." I sat on the floor, breathing shallow, refusing to respond. Minutes passed. The hallway light returned. The scraping stopped. A note appeared inside above the locks. They heard the glass. Under it, "You didn't invite them. That's why you're still yourself." I pressed my forehead to the door, shaking, understanding how close I'd come to making a mistake that couldn't be undone. The notes warned me, "They can't take you. But they can trade." Another, "They offer things. Answers. Favors. Safe feeling. And finally, they want permission." The word permission felt like a trap disguised as choice. They didn't break in. They convinced. They copied voices and words to make you open the door yourself. That's what made them terrifying, because the danger wasn't brute force. It was persuasion. It was the way the human brain wants to fix uncertainty, wants to respond, wants to end discomfort by taking action. The notes were trying to train me to tolerate discomfort. To leave questions unanswered. To keep doors closed even when something begged. One day the notes stopped. At first I felt relief, then panic. The silence felt wrong, like the hum of electricity suddenly cutting out. That night a single note appeared, ink lighter than usual, "I'm weak today." Under it, "They push when I'm quiet." My chest tightened with a new fear for the thing that had been protecting me. I asked what I could do. The reply came, "Be quiet. Be boring. Don't be alone if you can help it." The advice sounded like survival in a storm. That night I packed a bag and left to stay with family, moving carefully, because even leaving felt like making noise in a place that listened. When I returned, a note sat on the counter, "Open the closet. It's safe now." The handwriting was close, but wrong, like someone tracing a signature they'd practiced. Another note, "I'm your friend." The quiet tenant never used words like that. It never tried to flatter me. It warned, it guided, it protected. This was persuasion. Then my phone rang, "Mom." Except the name looked slightly off, like a copy. My stomach dropped. A real note appeared, "Don't answer." Not her. I declined the call. Later another real note confessed, "I was quiet." They learn fast. That's when I realized, they weren't just copying voices anymore. They were copying the notes too. They were stealing the safest language we had. And trying to use it against me. That night the apartment tested me. Scratching. Whispering. My own voice offering comfort. And the quiet tenant left one line that felt like the final rule carved into stone: "They can copy us. They can't copy patience." I understood then what the notes had been building toward. They wanted reactions. They wanted answers. They wanted quick movements and panicked choices. Patience was the weapon. Patience starved them. So I stayed still. I breathed quietly. I refused to perform. The pressure against the walls eased like something giving up. The hallway light steadied. And for the first time in weeks, I felt the apartment relax around me. Not safe, never truly safe, but calmer. Like a storm cloud drifting past because it couldn't find a place to land. Eventually, the notes became less urgent again, more like steady reminders, "Lock both. Good morning. You're learning." And then one day a note appeared, "You won't live here forever." Under it, "Leave notes for the next one." The idea hit me hard. This wasn't just my story. It was a chain. Someone had once tried to warn the quiet tenant. Now the quiet tenant warned me. And one day I'd leave, and the building would keep listening for the next tenant's footsteps, the next person's laughter in the hall. So I bought fresh sticky notes and practiced neat handwriting until my letters looked calm. I placed a note inside the doorframe where a new person would see it first: "Welcome home." Lock the bottom bolt too. Not because the bolt was magical, but because attention is survival. Because a quiet warning can be the difference between curiosity and caution. And when I finished, a final note appeared beside mine in that familiar handwriting: "Thank you." For the first time, I didn't feel haunted. I felt like I'd joined something older than fear, something like protection passed forward, one square of paper at a time.